back to another edition of Property Talk Live. Today, we'll be discussing a powerful topic every buyer must take seriously, which is the document that must be requested and verified before paying for any property. But before we even dive into these questions, we have some questions that we got from our podcast last week that we're going to be asking first. And of course, as usual, we have our co-host with us, Satoshi, who's going to be giving us some insights and answers to these questions. This situation.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's a pleasure once again to be with you this afternoon here in our location. So we're delighted again to have you in this beautiful day and of course rainy day, so to speak. So we dive straight away to what Mary has for us and of course our viewers around the world and what have been asking us some questions and directions on the best way to get started on this property investments and real estate investments.
So welcome again, everybody. So if you're buying a property soon or you're planning to invest in real estate, this session might be saving you from losing millions. And today we'll be breaking down the key element documents that you must demand before paying for a land, house, or any property. So let's jump right into the conversation. But before we pick those questions, we'd like to talk about the two main questions we got from our viewers last session. We would like to ask Mr. Tuchuk about this question so he can provide answers to them for us. So the first question we have from our viewers, uh, somebody asked, what are the key factors a first-time investor should evaluate before choosing a property that will appreciate fast and deliver strong return on investment within a realistic time frame?
Right. As for those who are watching us for the first time, probably you've been a real estate enthusiast and you want to go into it. You have some capital you have saved over time, which you want to deploy to real estate. Yes, we are here to help you trigger off that um, thoughts and make that vision come to reality. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. So, uh, journey with us. And of course, like the question is, being the first timer, you're more conscious of what property you want to buy. So, number one thing as an expert, we are here on this TV Studio Hub podcast this afternoon is to help you. Number one is to help you grow your income, and then of course your return on investment, and then to grow wealthy and enjoy the life and God gave to us. So having said that, as a first time um,
Investment.
investor, you focus on data driving fundamentals, not emotions. What we're talking about here is look at um, what are the things that will make uh, locations, areas, or possibly whether it is anywhere in the west, in the south, in the east, or in the north. So you look at location. Number one is location growth indications. So every property or real estate investors all over the world is all based on locations. So it's not something emotional, not what your uncle or your brothers told you. You look at the location of the property. So you look at two, again, when you're looking at location, they're looking at government or private infrastructure that are around in that location. We're looking at road expansion plans. What we're talking about road expansion plans, we're talking about the railway, we're talking about the transportations, private or government transportations linked to that particular geographical locations. So we are looking at the government infrastructure such as the local government, uh, public places built for public use, that is public properties from the government. So we're looking at schools, we're looking at hospitals, we're looking at recreational areas. Okay, so those are the things you look at, population growth wise. So when you are investing in the real estate for the first time, you also look at buying in that location because even if it is not developed right now, there's a tendency that within short period of time
It's very
it will go up because of some of the developmental index that has been captured around that place. Of course, sometimes you can go to government, every government or every you know place has a master plan that government have set aside on how they're going to what they're going to provide in that place. It might not be right there, but it's already on the master plan of every government or every state or every location. So number two is, of course, you're dealing with developer. Of course, dealing with developer, you need to read a track record. That is number two. So never invest in an off-plan project, checking, without checking the flow, the building quality, delivery history, um, financial stability. When the developer is solid, your risk reduces and return on investment becomes predictable. So what we're talking about for us, some places they call it pre-construction. Okay, so when you are doing pre-construction, construction is they have an estate. It could be luxury, it could be family um, of three or four or five, you know, um, some places in the world they call it condo, some other call it family house. Okay, so you now have to look at what are the things that the developer is asking for. So because it's one of the best way to invest. So when you secure the property with just about make initial deposits of maybe 10 to 20%, you know, so you spread the balance, and then knowing that the building is just the building plan and then the drawing plan. But on that the drawing plan, the facilities that are going to be provided by the developer are already captured in that drawing plan. So you secure the property on a very low from the ground starting point with the developer, and then you grow with the developer. And of course, the demand versus supply is also something that you need to consider as a first-time investor in the real estate. So you look at buy in areas where the rental or purchase demand versus is stronger and the supply is limited. You know, for example, if you go to places like Ejuleki in Lagos, you go to places like in River, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and then you now see that there's a demand for low cost housing, you know, outskirts of the main suburb, what we call the suburb. The suburb is outskirts of the main city. So in that place, you buy because the demand for houses, low cost housing, are already there because of the population growth. And then the demand, the working class tend to live where the more rental is lower than living in the city that are more expensive compared to their income. So as the person who's going to the real estate investment for the first time, a real estate investor, you will look at those indications. It's going to help you to be able to make what is the quick rental updates, lower vacancy rates, although how like if your space become vacant, say within 1 month, can you get another person to rent? Because you need your money to be return on investment. The more people rent it, the more you have your return on investment. So how fast is the acquisition of that property, which we have already spoken about? And then you look at the exit strategy before entry. A first time buyer must ask, can I rent it? You need those questions. Yeah, these are very important questions. Can I rent it? Can I resell easily? If I need to exit, because you are buying, except you want to buy to live. But if you are buying for to resell, for commercial purposes, or for resell and have your capital and deploy it to another one and more and more. So you need to ask those properties. There are some property owners or real estate developers that do not want the sale of their property after you have bought it. So you need to find out. And then is there a strong market for this type of property? What we're talking about, we're buying luxury apartments, condo, or probably block of flats, like unit of flats. So you need to know whether there will be demand is not going to go down, but rather appreciate. A property you can't exit quickly will delay your return on investment because you need to put in money, you need to bring out the money as well. So those are the things we, about four of them, new buyers or new entry should consider first.
Thank you very much, for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, answer for that question. So, the second question key question actually that we got from our last podcast I want to talk about today.
Right.
Because someone asked that for someone that is starting with just one property, what strategic steps should they take in the first 2 to 3 years to turn that first investment that they have into a sustainable real estate portfolio?
Yes, thank you for this. The journey from one property to a full blown portfolio is all about leverage. It's all about planning and vision. Here and these steps. You start with investments you can leverage. Choose a property that has strong rental potential. So what we're talking about here is appreciation, because property has to appreciate. If you it's not like you go to the bank and put money in the bank, and you know you're putting money into property because you know that it will appreciate. The money will add value. You know, so you put 1 million, you expect it within 1 year to appreciate to 2 million, or probably 3 million, and all of that. So that should be at what should be at the back of your mind if you're entering into this wealth building sector, which is very important for those that are watching us right now. So it's a very good sector, and it's also very secured sector if you invest with the right people with the right mindset. So you need to look at those things and that can be able to make. Do you put the collateral? That one asset become your stepping stone. What we're talking about collateral, can I use maybe you bought the house or landed property that has clean title, CO4, probably registered deed and other important titles. Can you use it to secure loans or financial um, from the bank to be able to reinvest the same money? Because when you want to use your collateral to buy the property, so you are saying I have XYZ amount of money on my property value based on valuation, because they will carry out valuation maybe from a private valuation or from the bank or the financial institutions. So you look at if this property worth say 10 million or 100 million. So you want them to say I have 150 or 100 million, but the property I want to buy is 50 million. Because definitely they're not going to give you the money that is more than the value of your assets. So your asset must be more than what you're asking the financial institution to give. So you have this because at the end of the day, they are taking risk, even though you have an asset which is more more than the amount of money you are investing from them, but they're also taking risk because they are giving the lupit, which is the cash. So you invest.
So if you have a property that is worth 100 million, you
Yes.
can't borrow more than 100 million.
You no, they will rather give you 50% of what you have. Because at the end of the day, when they want to sell the property, they're not going to sell it on the actual market value. What they call forced sale. Bank uses forced sale because if they want to take their money, they're not going to wait to start looking for who will buy it on the normal market value. They want the cash now if you have defaulted. So it's what they're going to sell it will be lower. It's those who have the money to pay immediately, so they recoup their money. So that's the way banks work. So any value of your property, they will not be able to give you. You must have that two times of that for you to assess financial funding from the bank or financial service from the bank. Although I'm not a banker, so I'm not an expert in that area, but I know from the deals we've handled over the time, being in the sector, I know the most of those losses and those expert knowledge based on experience. So we go ahead again. They maximize the cash flow and put the property to work. Don't buy property. We have some idle properties lying fallows in different locations all over the place. Those properties can be utilized for different purposes. You can use it for event center. You can use it for recreational center. You can use it even for those who are into logistics. For probably warehouses. So there are people who are looking for spaces. So don't allow your property to lie waste because every year you leave those properties, income could have been generated by just giving it to a reliable real estate broker or real estate agent or company that can be able to you know,
Manage it for you.
manage it properly for you and have return on investment. So yeah,
Thank you very much, sir, for that. So, on our main topic, which is for sleep,
right.
one of the major questions that we have that our viewers are asking us about is that why is it, someone is asking, say, why is it important to ask for documents before paying for a property?
Yes, it's important why you should ask for document before paying because one, because documents are the only legal proof that you have. It's the only thing that you everything apart from the hard assets, which is the land, the physical assets. The thing that can prove that you are the owner of that piece of asset is documents in your possession. So you cannot just claim you own it's just like buying a vehicle or buying the phone, or anything electronics, and you do not have proper document to prove. Even by getting out of the gates, you might not be allowed by the security to get out the place where you bought it. In some places, they verify if you actually paid for it. So, and then this one is a higher risk because it's a high capital intensive investment that requires you spending millions, sometimes billions of dollars on the local currency. So the risk of paying for land that is under dispute, if anything happens in the future, because you must be sure that your investment is secured, very important. So already sold to someone else. Some people they buy like we discussed last time, they buy property and then they go ahead to resell the same property without the knowledge of the original buyer to someone else, and that will lead to litigation or belongs to the government or buying from property that the government has future plans developing for. So you go ahead and buy it ignorantly. The government is not going to, you know, because you are ignorant. They say this ignorance is not no excuse for the law. So if you make mistakes to invest wrongly by buying without asking the right documents, you pay for it because the consequences will be very challenging. And if care is not taken, you might end up losing your investments.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. So, I actually have a question. So, how can a buyer confirm if documents they are getting on particular properties authentic?
Yes, the best way to confirm um, documents is like last week we did talk about the authentic of the document. It's always verify, deal with the number one, even before you even talk about going to investments or start real estate investment or diversify your portfolio, or if you're working class, you want to start building income because all we're talking about here is income uh, growth, the quadrant, what Kiyosaki called the quadrant of growth, of building income. So if for you to now take the money you've been working for the rest of your life to put into something, You must think twice. You must do the right thing, the due diligence. Number one of that is land research. So, how? I know some of those who are listening to us are not conversant with what we're talking about. They're not real estate uh, experts, and that's why we are talking about this. That's more reason why you should follow us, and then also like, and so you can be getting notifications, because we're going to be uh, digging deeper beyond what you're hearing now. So you need to be with us, journey with us, because we're going somewhere. Our target is not just now. We want to grow billionaires and millionaires of this age, this day and age. We're looking forward for 2026. Maybe don't forget, because the new year is just 1 month. It's less than 1 month now.
It's less than a month.
So we step into 2026. You know, we can't wait for that 2026 because we are loaded. We just, this is just the tip of an iceberg. So what we have for you. So we want you to still make sure that the land registry search is the terminology you might not be aware of, or you do not understand how does it work. Every land, every piece of property in anywhere in the world are all in the database of the government. So the government is where you can see the land registry, the land office. For example, in Lagos, you call it at Alausa, you have the land office. There you have the people in charge, the commissioner for lands, and all of that. So, and then of course, federal also have their own. Of course, you go to the Surveyor General's Office of Information. You can visit the Surveyor General's office in your state, mainly in the states. You find it in the states capital. Local government, I'm not sure of that, but it's in the state level that you find those, because most of them domiciled in the states. So register real estate professionals, engage with real estate professionals. We have emphasized and re-emphasized on that. Do not do some certain documentations when it comes to property on your own limited knowledge. Okay, so you need to involve trusted and capable and reputable real estate brokers and companies. So legal verification through a property lawyer is very important, because at the end of the day, if you have any disputes, you're going to hire a lawyer. Although they will charge you something, but that amount they're going to charge you, like I said last week, is subject to negotiation. You're going to negotiate with them, and then you have that, because they will be the one who stand on your behalf if anything go wrong. We don't pray for that, but you need to plan, uh, protect your investments. This is very important. I think those are the major things that you should do before you know whether the documents are real or not. So, of course, last week we went beyond that on our last podcast, where we talk about some red flags. Those ones, if you do not watch our last podcast, please, on our bio station, you will see the previous podcast where we speak.
Yes, about red flags that you should watch out
Exactly.
for. And for those that are just joining us today, that
Right.
are watching us for the first time today, can you
Yes.
please explain on that particular person, like the red flag that you should watch out for?
Okay. So we're talking about the red flag. We're talking about is discrepancies on the document, the title. So if you have any, say, deeds or surveyors, or the CFO, or receipts, family receipts, or the receipt from the seller, and then the names are not the same thing, are not uniform, historically, so you erase a red flag that something is wrong, or mutilation, or alterations. Those things, the names are mutilated, or wrong spellings. So you look at those pages from the title page to other pages. So you look at that everything connected from the survey to the deeds to the CFO to the receipts, and even if it is the sold land, or you're buying from a reseller, there's the historical documentation that you must ask. Are you the original owner of this piece of asset or piece of land or piece of or a house. So they will show you either they bought it from somewhere. They will provide you who they bought it from. Okay, who they bought it from. We have the who sold it from that person, and then historically you will find references. And then the other one is to look at if the land, like we said, from the land registry search, some piece of documents or property or real estate documentation have, there's always, a caveat. Every piece of real estate document have something that is written on it, either the governor's consent, CFO, every of those things have
That's a
either
question.
from they bought it from the family now have given it to so person. So all those things are the things you'll be checking to find out that they tally. If they did not tally,